The Lord Ravagers are utterly useless plot devices that will never find success and only serve to give us something to fight in every journey. Is a bold claim that has been nagging in my brain for the past few weeks. In our adventures through the stars, we have fought many enemies, with the overarching threat being the destruction, the path of purging that wants to absolutely annihilate everything in the cosmos. And since Nanook, for one reason or another, has not attempted to blow up the universe themselves, they have taxed their emanators with the objective of assassinating the Aeons in their stead, giving them absolutely massive amounts of power, all to accomplish this goal. And in this video, I'm going to make the bold and presumptuous claim that the Lord Ravagers are useless. But not because they are bad at what they do, but rather because their goal is impossible. So without further ado, this is the biggest frauds of the cosmos explained. But first, tomorrow we are doing something we have never done before. Instead of me giving you my theories, I'm going to be reading yours along with doing a Q&A for the very first time. If you are confused at how we did this and set this all up, we set it all up via Discord and you should have been there, linked in the description. We achieved a nice number and 70k is right around the corner, and we have just got to celebrate in the most elation erudition way possible. So with all that said, on to the video. Okay, so first off, I am well aware that I am taking a very aggressive stance here, and the last time I did so was wishing that the enemies left more bodies on the ground to signify how dangerous they truly are, praising Hule for how visceral and menacing he was as a villain. And then Hoyo had to say, Nova, shut up, and gave us Amphorius, where we watched our beloved Chrysosairs die in absolutely horrible ways. But the irony is really funny just how brutal the Amphorius story was months after I made that video. So there may be some grave consequences in store for us, but the point I'm trying to make here is simple. Sure, the Lord Ravagers are scary, menacing, and a threat. However, they never succeed, and I don't believe they ever have. If we're being honest, the Harmony and the IPC and even AHA have done more notable damage to the cosmos than the destruction has. I mean, heck, Xipe has assimilated the Order, and AHA is now confirmed to have killed Ouroboros the Veracity. So, remind me, what Aeons has the destruction actually killed? None. Nanook has a fat goose egg on the scoreboard. The youngest hotshot Aeon on the scene, with their sword raised to strike down every path in existence, has done absolutely nothing besides take down planets, a few solar systems, and at least one galaxy thanks to Zephyro. Rupert 1 and the Swarm Disaster, the two events that led to Nanook's ascension in the first place, have already done more damage than Nanook has ever dreamed of doing. Remember, just Taziron's clash with Ouroboros affected 2/3 of all living worlds in the cosmos.
They were hardly there to aid the swarm, but rather to attend a cosmic-level feast, in which the swarm served merely as appetizers, and the planets they passed were devoured as the main course.
And not only is that more than what Nanook has ever done, but also Irontomb, because of the fact that nothing brought those worlds back. Nothing repaired it like nothing happened. That is irreparable damage that the Machine Emperor's Wars and the Swarm Disaster did to the cosmos. But this isn't about Nanook, because personally I'm convinced that Nanook is holding themselves back from destroying the cosmos because of their own conflicted nature. But that's a theory video that I made and a discussion for another day. So what is the point of the Lord Ravagers? Well, their overarching goal is to be Nanook's weapons to destroy the paths. Normally I say their goal is to destroy the Aeons, and that is their goal as well, but to be 100% accurate to the database, they are after the paths. And Nanook was smart about this because they chose their emanators from individuals who are already strong in the path that they are targeting. No one would know more about a path like the Harmony than a harmonic string, and no one would know more about AHA than one of their fools. However, as we know, killing an Aeon just weakens the path. it doesn't destroy the path. The paths still very much exist, just like the Trailblaze, the Order, and the Veracity. So for the Lord Ravagers like Luxbane, who are after the aeonless paths of the Permanence and the Veracity, odds are that thing's goal is to exterminate every remaining pathstrider and emanator of those two paths. And after there is no one walking that path, the path would cease to be. How the Trailblaze managed to survive after the extinction of the Nameless by the hands of Asat Pramad all those years ago on plain Arcadia is most likely due to Nameless like Baihung, who never boarded the Express but still considered herself a Nameless. But that's besides the point, because what this proves is that destroying a path is a near impossible task. If so much as the scattered remains of a faction are enough to keep a path alive, what hope does a single Lord Ravager have at achieving their goal? And that's if an Aeon is already dead. Destroying paths like the Erudition and the Preservation would have to require a Lord Ravager capable of blowing up the entire cosmos, purely because of how many pathstriders these two paths have. But since we already saw Irontomb fail, that was already heavily assisted and nurtured by Xandar I Kuwabara, the first genius and creator of Noose. Seriously, what hope does any Lord Ravager have at achieving their goal of killing an Aeon, let alone an entire path? None. Or perhaps it's too early to tell, because so far, even though none of the Lord Ravagers have made any lasting success, none of the Lord Ravagers have died. I forgot about Zulo. But anyway, including Irontomb. Because even as of right now, the only thing holding Irontomb back is Cyrene's willpower. So Irontomb is as alive as the rest of the Amphorius cast is, as uncomfortable as that is to say. So it's not like Nanook is losing, they just aren't making progress. Well, they are kind of losing if you think about Zulo. Technically, Nanook's 0-1 and is bordering on 0-2. But that's besides the point. So as of right now, the Lord Ravagers are absolutely useless and have made no progress for the cause of destruction. No path has been destroyed, but Irontomb did come very close. But I would argue that they can't make any progress narratively. Not because they aren't strong enough, but because destroying a path like Permanence would mean that Dan Heng would have to die. Destroying the Elation would mean Sparkle would have to die, and the Trailblazer would lose all access to their latest upgrade. So I gotta say, Hoyo has written themselves into a bit of a hole here, because as the Trailblazer acquires new paths, we kinda know that path isn't going to fall. The Aeon may fall, but the path itself isn't at risk, which makes me side-eye the path of the Hunt. A path that we never got even though we spent a lot of time on the Xianzhou. And also a path that we know is narrow and can border on destruction.
If the value of discipline was understood, the creations of the abundance need not be abominations. And without temperance, the consequences of the hunt are no different from destruction.
And we also know well enough already that the Aeon of Friendly Fire has no sense of temperance at all. So if a path were to fall, I would argue the weakest link is the Hunt, which looks really good for Phantilia in the future. And even though she is far from the strongest of her kind, she is after the path with the weakest followers. Not in strength though, no, in faith. Because the Xianzhou have Aeon swapped multiple times. Lan is far from their first Aeon. They started with Yaoshi, and then they went to Klapoth, and also Noose, and then settled with Lan after they ascended. But if Lan were to fall, I can easily see the Xianzhou swapping to a new path, and the Galaxy Rangers as well, leaving the Hunt with no pathstriders in the entire cosmos. Because the Galaxy Rangers don't hunt the abundance anyway. They just hunt whatever they have a personal vendetta against. Rappa's after Dr. Primitive, who is an emanator of erudition, and Boothill is after Oswaldo Schneider, who is a department head of the Preservation. And Ashvale was after Zulo, who again was a Lord Ravager, and after killing him, Ashvale retired. Unlike Lan, his hunt actually ended. So the only thing separating the Galaxy Rangers from destruction is their sense of vigilante justice. But also, I want you to remember that every Lord Ravager has their own reasons for doing what they do, just like the Galaxy Rangers do. Phantilia has a legitimate reason to target Lon. Rainbow, the person Lon was before ascending, stole the Flint Emperor's power and did not honor their deal, and now the Heliobi are forever angry with the Xianzhou. The Rainbow guy was supposed to be possessed by the Flint Emperor in return for them being able to fire off the very first Lux arrow, but they ascended to Aeonhood and the deal went unfulfilled. And that is the whole reason why the Heliobi hate Lon, and most likely why Phantilia also hates Lon as well. Oh, and apparently this Rainbow guy wasn't the only one who cut a deal with a Heliobus for combat power in exchange for bodily possession. Apparently he led whole squads of soldiers and suicide squads that straight up scammed the Heliobi and took their power for nothing in return. Cause if you die or ascend into an Aeon, you can't really get possessed afterwards, can ya? So yeah, a lot of Heliobi are big mad for good reason. They should be free and have a body to possess and emotions to feed on, but this gets even worse because they're not even free. Not only did the Xianzhou scam them, but they also imprisoned them afterwards. Not cool, guys. No wonder Phantilia so mad. And as for the other Lord Ravagers, we already know En route's reasoning for hating elation, along with Xandar and Irontomb's reason for hating erudition. All of this conflict is due to a sense of vigilante justice, just like the Galaxy Rangers. Destruction and Hunt are dangerously close to each other, and if these two paths were to have a power struggle, Lon is not winning. Destruction followers are way too dedicated, and the Hunt's own Emanators want their Aeon to be as inactive as possible. This is all an underlying recipe for the downfall of Lon. And as much as I love to make fun of it, the first example of us seeing a path utterly cease to be might just be the Hunt. Phantilia stands in the best possible position to bring an end to her targeted path and score a point for Team Bad Guys. So as of right now, the Lord Ravagers have struck out and have absolutely nothing to show for all of their aura farming and blustering arrogance. However, though I don't want to see it, okay, I kinda do, a path may fall. And according to everything we know, Lon is actually on the chopping block. We know that Aha is strong and elusive, and according to the Amphorius and Cypher story, they will fall, but in a more sacrificial way and much later on in the story. But Hunt is represented by Midemos, the guy who dies on a regular basis. The only strange part in being that he kept coming back, which could have something to do with the influence of the equilibrium, which was death and Amphorius, but personally I think that Midemos' immortality is a symbolism of the Hunt's followers being long-life species that simply refuse to die. As of right now, we can only speculate because the Lord Ravagers haven't taken a single W, and I have a sick sense of morbid curiosity that deeply desires to see what happens if they do. And until they do, I'm going to be antagonistic and put them on Fraud Watch. Because this is the biggest frauds of the cosmos explained. I wonder if my opinions on this are inflammatory. They probably are. I'm probably gonna get heat for this. I know I have controversial opinions from time to time. Let me have this. The last time I complained, we got Amphorius and it was peak. Making villains stronger and more dangerous means having bigger threats and higher stakes. And the best way to do this is to have the villains take some W's. My only worry is that if the destruction kills so much as one path, all hell might just break loose, which means Helio wrote themselves into a bit of a hole here, and eventually it will become formulaic to have a new Lord Ravager show up and then lose to us. And the last thing I want is for these guys to become a villain of the week type of enemy that feels so boring. You guys know I love my villains, and all good stories have to have even better villains to carry it. In my honest opinion, the hero doesn't carry the story. The villain carries the story. Let that sink in. What do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, y'all.